On this episode, I talk about one of the biggest objections mortgage lenders get every single day from borrowers, and I share with you 10 scripts that will absolutely convert borrowers to a meeting with you and to a client for life status. Hey, it's Todd Duncan. I'm super excited to be with you today. We are in our brand new recording studio, just completed about 24, I guess actually I could say just completed about 2 hours ago. There's a few adjustments we made at the very end, but I'm super happy to be with you on what will be the first TV episode recorded in our new studio. Thank you for being a Todd Duncan TV viewer and excited for episode 87, which is this episode. I decided to go raw and real on this episode. I decided that one of the greatest gifts that I could give you are the keys in making more money very, very quickly by knowing in advance what you're going to say to one of the most powerful selling objections there is, and that's what we're going to cover on this episode. One of the most powerful things we need to understand is that in the business of selling and influencing, it all begins and it all ends with value. At first, it's perceived value, right? It's the perception that the customer has in their mind's eye about the value that they're going to receive from you. It is then you communicating that value in powerful, persuasive, presentation-oriented skills, using the right words, using the right phrases, using the moments and pieces of value that you're proud of. And then it is evidenced when the two of you get together and you're able to share and they're able to feel and both of you come together and you want to make some business happen. So I think that one of the things that I am most grateful for in my life is a relationship with a guy by the name of Dr. Tony Alessandra. He wrote a book 35 years ago called Relationship Selling, probably my first foray into the power of relationships over just pure transactions. I think in the lending business, in the real estate business, there's just an awful lot of promotion going on. There's an awful lot of kind of talking and emulating and maybe even kind of flapping your wings and ruffling your feathers to try to be promotional to create influence and to create revenue and create conversion. That's really the thing that most people do. And in the world of influence, in the world of attraction, there needs to be a whole different mindset. There needs to be a mindset of invitation. There needs to be a mindset of value. So I am really, really keen on this. Coming out of just last week, I had a 4-day sales academy that was private labeled, and it seemed that one of the areas in which I really needed to work with this group was the area of convincing, not through talking, but through packaging, the idea that it was safe and smart and really important for you to meet with me face to face. Now, before we jump into this, I want you to know that Entrepreneur Magazine did a study about 18 months ago, and they said if you want to increase your volume 10x, increase your face-to-face appointments. And I think in the mortgage space, there's a lot of people that either don't have the skill set to do that, they haven't quite thought through what their value proposition is, or they've just assumed that because the consumer says that they'd rather do everything over the phone or on the internet, that that's the way to do it. And I'd like to give you an alternative, and I hope I can win your brain cells on this alternative. If you're a manager and you have originators that work on your team that are interacting with borrowers on a regular basis, I'd love for you to use this in your next sales meeting. Send this to all the guys and gals that are on your behalf working in the marketplace and helping home buyers make smart choices about financing. So I want to say a couple things at the very outset. So one of the great groups in mortgage lending that does a lot of research is a group called Stratmore. And one of the pieces of data that I have from Stratmore that's about 18 months old is the piece of data that the face-to-face borrower consultation is, besides a mailed out application, if you can imagine, there's still a small 1% of the origination population that mails out applications. But the next most frequent way to conduct a mortgage application is face-to-face. And it has the highest customer sat score of both internet and telephone. So one of the things I want you to understand is that in the customer experience, Customers appreciate convenience, but they appreciate a unique experience over convenience. So one of the questions I'd ask you to ask yourself is how robust and how valuable are your borrower consultations? Because it's not going to be about convenience, it's going to be about the experience. So you really got to take a look at that. There's a couple resources that we have at High Trust on the 5-star borrower presentation and how to create the 5-star experience. You may want to check those out at hightrust.com. I have an email in front of me that is dated June 14th of this year. It's from one of our elite members, and he forwarded this email to me, and in a box he said, "Face-to-face secures the deal." Now, this guy settles more than 220 loans a year. He's definitely at the top of his game. And here is the note from his borrower. I'll leave the guy's name out just for privacy's sake. "Thank you as well for meeting with me. I was extremely impressed with the professionalism and courtesy of everybody at your office. I could see why Steve and Sonia speak so highly of you and your team. I'll let you know when I have any questions, and hopefully I can find a new home very soon. Thank you," and then the borrower's name. And I look at that and I look at the idea that here's somebody who trusts the power of face-to-face. So I got a little bit kind of curious on this idea, and I went to our High Trust Today Facebook group, and I asked everybody just to tell me what are the benefits of face-to-face. And I'll just give you a couple of these answers, right? One says building trust and a true relationship that can last for life. Being vulnerable and full body listening and connecting. That is a reason why you want to try and meet every borrower that you come across face to face. One of our High Trust coaches, Dave, said, "Trust, simple as that. It allows for rapport and can't be duplicated with technology." I love that. I look at a couple of others. Scott says, "The power of face-to-face is to make a emotional connection. The client gets to see and hear your connection and the amount that you care about what's best for them, which simply cannot be conveyed in any other fashion." One of our coaching members, Ryan, he says, "When you meet face-to-face and do it well, they never go elsewhere and they never shop." So I look at that and I think about, the business that you and I are in, and I think about the idea that there's way too much promotion going on in the mortgage industry. We tell people. We don't invite them into a dialogue. We don't invite them into a conversation. We don't invite them into a connective tissue kind of experience. So what I did is I went to our member group and I went to my elite group, and I just kind of checked out, some of the questions that are really, really important about connecting face to face. And I got questions like, we need to meet face to face so that I can really understand about what's important about this home loan to you and architect a mortgage strategy that hits all of your needs. Another question is regarding mortgage strategy. What is most important to you, interest rate, monthly payment, or the lowest overall cost of borrowing? Another individual says, the power of meeting face-to-face is that I get to explore your financial objectives over the next 5 to 10 years. I get to see how home ownership affects those objectives, and I get to recommend several strategies that will help you achieve that. Another person said, it's important to have a rate discussion. It's also important to have a payment discussion, but it's most important to have a goals discussion. And when you think about that, you think about, I can do rate, I can do fees, I can do payment, I can get you anywhere, but without knowing your goals, it is not appropriate for me to even answer the rate question. I was toying with some people last week, and I said, I have a client that is in Texas, and he used to kind of create a lot of laughter in our interviews. And whenever somebody would say what your interest rate is, he would say, as long as you have 100% down, my rate is 0. Now, if we have a discussion about how much you want to put down, my rate is going to move a little bit, but before I have a dialogue with you, it would be impossible for me to tell you what our rates are. So what I'm trying to get you thinking about is I'm trying to get you to think about the real value that you have in your dialogue. If you've been to the High Trust Sales Academy, you know that I teach the science of scripting. There's three things in scripting that go into play. One is called the embedded command, where I actually tell somebody what to do. The other is called a pattern interrupt, where I actually say something that causes that person to think differently, to think at a more unique level. And there's a third element of scientific scripting, which is called a power phrase, where I say something that is truthful, that I can stand behind, but it's got kind of this edge of power to it. So I thought what I would do on this TV episode is I thought I'd share with you kind of the best of maybe 5 or 6 scripts. You may want to be at a spot where you're watching this that you can kind of jot these down. But these are all really, really powerful scripts on creating borrower interest and attraction to meeting with you face-to-face at your office. Now, before I get into this, is the real advantage to you in doing that? Well, from my vantage point, the real way that this is important to you is it accelerates trust, which increases conversion. So if you and I are interested in having fewer conversations where more and more people say yes, then we have to be able to understand, what do we say to set that up? Do I want to talk to 10 different people on the phone and then get one of them to meet with me? Or would I like to talk to 3 people on the phone and get all 3 to meet with me? That's kind of what high trust is. It's like, how do I do better? How do I make more money? How do I do that more efficiently in less time? And how do I have less stress in that conversation? So the advantage to you in doing this is twofold. One, it is optimizing the client experience, which then 2, optimizes yes, which is conversion. Now, again, before I go into some of these, imagine improving your conversion by 2% a month, 3% a month over the course of a year. Imagine if at the end of the year, your conversion is improved by 36% from conversations you have to loans that fund. What would it be like to you if you could double, triple, quadruple the amount of people that say yes and do that in half the time it's taking you to have all these conversations anyway? So the value of face-to-face is connected relationship and higher conversion. With that in mind, I'll give you a few of these scripts. So this is one that deals with the objection, I am too busy. Okay, so I'm sure you've probably heard that in the past from borrowers. I'm too busy, can we just talk about it now? Or I'm too busy, can we do it over the telephone? Or I'm too busy, whatever the too busy might be. So one of our elite members says this: I know your life is incredibly busy and probably stressful from time to time. Getting a home loan doesn't have to be. By taking the time to meet with me, I'll help guide, keyword, I'll help guide you through the process, answer all of your questions, and at the end, make sure you feel, not think, feel safe, secure, and comfortable with your decision to purchase a home. Does Tuesday or Thursday at noon work for you? Or I'm available Tuesday and Thursday between 1 and 4. What time might be the best for you? So in that particular script, I'm too busy, we're answering that with the emotional connection of safe, secure, and comfortable. And I think when you characterize that in the loan business, people are engaging in the largest purchase of their life, they're engaging in probably the largest debt of their life, we've got to be able to use these kinds of pattern interrupts and embedded commands to change the way people think. This is from one of our coaches who's an active originator, and I love this too. I am too busy. He says, I understand, as most of us are busy these days, my guess would be the last time you bought a car, even if mostly negotiated online, you went to the dealer to inspect the car and complete the paperwork. You were likely there for at least a few hours. Financing a home is more important and complex than financing a car. By spending 45 to 60 minutes with me at my office, we can determine your goals, explore multiple financing strategies, and decide what's best for you and your family. All my clients have felt that this time was extremely invaluable. So all my clients have felt. That's a power phrase. All my clients have felt. All my clients have felt. And so you look at this, and really the goal is just to change the way people think, okay? So I'm too busy is one of those that you hear all the time. Maybe this idea of tell me about your interest rates, okay? Tell me about your rates on this or that. And this is a guy that's a recent graduate from the academy. He says, you've asked a few times about interest rates and fees, and for what I'm hearing from you, most of the lenders with whom you're speaking are providing you some confusing information. That's a pattern interrupt right there, some confusing information. My team and I are different from most lenders. Okay, that is story selling. My team and I are different than most lenders. We meet face to face with all of our borrowers. Our goal is to learn your long and short-term financial goals and then show you how homeownership affects those goals and then recommend several financing options to help you achieve what's important to you. So you start to think this through and you start to think about different ways that you can position yourself against the competition. And, at the end of the day, it's really important for you to know what to say. I'll give you another example. This is, again, a pattern interrupt. A lot of people want to talk to several lenders, and maybe one of the objections you get is, I'm going to talk to some other lenders or I'm going to shop. And so one of the pattern interrupts is, I think you should talk to some other lenders. I think you should talk to some other lenders or loan originators. This is a big decision. It's important to me that you feel really good, and the lender that you choose must make you feel that way. I believe I'm that person. That is a power phrase. Here are some questions you might ask the lenders you talk to. And then there's three questions in here that are designed to kind of cause the borrower to really think through what they're asking a lender to give them. So question number one is, how will the loan for which I've asked for a quote affect my financial picture, my goals, and what I want to do financially? And most lenders haven't asked so that they can't answer that. What does it mean to create a mortgage plan is another question. Now, as long as you're good, as long as you understand how to create a mortgage plan, then you can tell the borrower, ask any lender that question. And most aren't going to know the answer. Or how about this one, which is the litmus test? What percentage of the loans you take close and close on time? And if a lender can't produce that and can't produce testimonials, there's a chance that you need to pump the brakes and kind of slow down. So I put in this little note, remember, the lowest rate with the wrong strategy can cost you more than a slightly higher rate with the right strategy. So what that does is it gets a borrower thinking, wow, mortgage strategy, what's that? Mortgage strategy. That in and of itself is a pattern interrupt. So if I tell you to talk to other lenders and I give you the three questions to ask, and then I simply say, I'm going to follow up in a day or two and see how that goes, would that be all right? And they're going to be blown away. And your job is to architect this overall kind of solution where borrowers go, there's no risk in meeting with you. In fact, meeting with you face to face is the smartest thing I can do. One of our top producing elite members, I'm going to give you this beautiful script. It's got embedded commands in it. It's got pattern interrupts in it. It's got a power phrase in it. And it's got what's called a tie down. So let me just read this to you. It's solid. What we typically do is start with some basic information for your application. That's the embedded command. Once we process that, we call you to set up a time to meet with me face to face. That's embedded command. During that meeting, it will allow me to sit down and help bring all the numbers into sharp focus. That's a pattern interrupt. This will allow you to understand the price point you need to be looking at to achieve the monthly payment you want, the different program options, and how much money you will need for each. That is just beautiful. Whether you decide to use me or not, that is our classic pattern interrupt. Anytime you take the pressure off of somebody, whether you decide to use me or not, my goal is that you have all the information necessary to make a good financial decision for you and your family. Does that sound like something that would help you make a smart choice? And the answer, of course, to that is going to be yes. I've got 30 pages of answers, and I think it's important for you to really ask yourself, in the world in which we live, with the technological advances that are out there, and all the differentiation that you can really drum up, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in your local community that would love a face-to-face meeting with you. And I want to get you just skilled up. I can't do it in a 15-minute TV episode, but I can give you a few highlights to really think through, man, why don't I do that? Why don't I just meet everybody face-to-face? One of my good elite friends is a guy named Steve, and Steve's from Tennessee, and this is one of his classic, how do I add value through scripting? Listen to this. While most people spend hours on planning their annual summer vacation, they don't want to spend any time to prepare and plan for their largest investment in debt. Are you kidding me? That is just like, whoa, you spend more time planning your vacation than you do figuring out and preparing and planning for the largest investment in debt you're going to carry. He goes on to say, I highly recommend you invest an hour with me at my office. That's an embedded command. And develop a winning game plan for your mortgage and your financial future. And I could go on and on and on and on. And I've got all these great things. My buddy from Honolulu says spending an hour with me up front will save us hours of headache, stress, and confusion during your transaction. When would you like to meet? So what I want you to be thinking of as a result of this episode is there's probably 4 main objections that come up. One is I'm too busy. One is I don't have time. One is just give me a rate. And one is I'm going to shop around. Okay, so your job as a mortgage professional is to be able to professionally, adequately, lovingly, nurturingly, just emotionally talk through why does it make sense to meet. And if you really understand this, you would see that most of your borrowers that you have not yet conducted consultations with, or maybe that don't even know you yet, are spending more time than it would take to meet with you doing errands in the town in which you guys live. And clearly the mortgage decision, clearly the loan to get, clearly the payment and the strategy to manage that payment and budget accordingly, clearly all of those should trump what most of you have to try to manage through in terms of rate. You know, the average loan amount in America, I believe last time I checked, was about $215,000. You know, when you look at a bad day in pricing, all other things being the same, costs the same, points the same, all of that, most of you in America are trying to create enough value to compensate for maybe $30 or $40 a month in payment. And that might be on the high side. Obviously, in coastal markets, it's a little bit more unique, a little bit more in terms of jumbo pricing and things like that. A little bit harder to manage through that. But still, I've got guys today whose average loan amounts are $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 who will not do a loan without meeting face to face with a consumer. And so I'm going to give this to you as an alternative. Would you rather talk to more people, not face-to-face, do it faster, not create enough trust, and have to talk to 3 or 4 times the number of people to get the same volume? Or would you like to cut by maybe a third, maybe a half the number of people you talk to and get more of those to say yes? If the answer is I want to have less conversations and more yeses to applications that close, then do yourself a favor. Go back through this again. Sit down and jot out your own scripts. Go down the path of thinking through, how do I say things that cause you as a borrower to stop and think? How do I say things that even cause my real estate partners and maybe builder partners to get behind this and understand that a good rate is optical. Anybody can make rates look good. It's all optics. When you get behind the scene and you get into the deep conversation, your job is to figure out from all the different product lines and all the different rate variations with fees or no fees, points or no points, your job is to figure out what is the right thing for you. Today, I saw a LinkedIn post from David Stevens. David Stevens is the retired president of the NBA, and he was talking about, brokers and bankers and all the different things that are happening in the world of lending today. And I made this comment. I said, it doesn't matter what genre you're from. What matters is high trust. And what matters is that we take the spotlight off of ourselves, we put it squarely on the consumer, and we do what's right for the consumer. So none of this was manipulative. None of this was designed to have you do something to a consumer. What this episode was designed to do is to get you really to think. Really to think. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? And are you actually consulting to win the day? And if you can meet a borrower where they're at by asking questions that you're not asking so you can learn things you're not learning, so you can offer solutions you haven't learned, your conversion's going to go sky high, keep your lifestyle low, save, and pretty soon you're going to be financially free by helping consumers make wise financial decisions that will set them free. Okay? Share this with everybody you know that's negotiating every single day to help borrowers win. Thanks for watching Todd Duncan TV.